everyone. Hi. My name is Lou, and this is, of course, Tahereh Mafi. I am so excited to be here to celebrate the release of Restore Me with Tahereh. I remember when we came out around the same time, back in 2011, 2012, or something like that. And I remember my first impression. Hello. My first impression of Shatter Me was at BEA, and there was this huge line, of people waiting for the art for this book, and that was the first time I heard about the Shatter Me series. And since then, I feel like you have grown so much as a writer, and your writing just continues to dazzle and to amaze, because Shatter Me, even at how old were you when Shatter Me first came out? You were 20.
I was 23.
23, and the writing was so different from a lot of stuff that was coming out. I remember because Juliet's voice always struck me as just the singular voice that was unlike anything that I had read, and I'm just telling the truth. I tell the truth a lot.
There's a reason why I brought her here tonight.
It's very easy to tell the truth and say how awesome it is. And we get to see Juliet grow as a character throughout the first 3 books. So I am really excited that you're continuing the Shatter Me series, and I know all of you are super excited to read this book. It is awesome. So I'm going to get into some questions, and we'll talk for maybe 20 minutes or so, and then we'll open up to questions from you guys. So start thinking about what you want to ask. So what was it like to return to the Shatter Me world? Because you wrote 2 novellas and 3 novels, and then you stepped away from the worlds for a while, and then you went back to Restore Me. What was it like to continue it, and how did you get the idea? What was the spark that made you want to return? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great and super fair and reasonable question. Because it's been, when did the last book come out? Ignite Me came out in 2013, 2014? Do you guys remember? I think it was 2014, yeah. 4 years ago. And yes, so that's quite a bit of a break in between the series. But I think what happened was when I finished writing Ignite Me, I felt very definitively that the series was over. I felt like the characters were in a really good place. I felt like the story had finished in a really good place. I felt like Juliet had grown in this really, great way, and I was ready to move on. And I think it was more that I was ready to move on artistically and creatively than that the story was completely finished. But in the moment, that felt right. That felt like the right choice. And I really wanted to do something else. I wanted to write something else. And I did. I moved on in a very different direction. I wrote middle grade novels for a couple of years.
Amazing middle grade novels. For more enriched ones, which if you guys have not read yet, please do.
I love you.
Okay, sorry, continue.
So, yeah, and that was really fun. And I mean, such a totally different POV, the very fantastical kind of magical realism, and this like third-person omniscient narrator, very, very different. And I had a lot of fun with that. And I fully moved on from the Shatter Me series, and I was having a conversation with someone about the books one day, and this person asked me a question about one of the characters' names, and I could not remember what one of my characters' names was, and I realized that I should probably know the answer to that question, and so I went back and I reread the books because I just felt like, okay, people are still reading these, I'm still selling them, I'm still promoting them, I should remember what they're about. So I reread them, start to finish, in sort of like a whirlwind, 12 hours or something, and I really enjoyed them. And I really enjoyed it, and I felt in that moment when I finished reading Ignite Me, it felt very clear to me that the story needed to go on, and Juliet's story became very clear to me. It seemed very obvious then what I needed to do and where the story needed to go, and it just felt right. But so I wanted to return to this series and tell that story, but I also just wanted to return to YA in general. So I have 2 books coming out this year. The first one is this, Restore Me, the 4th book in the Shatter Me series, and the second one is a totally different book. Again, I keep doing this. It's a contemporary novel, and I won't talk about it very much, but just briefly, it is the most autobiographical book I've ever written. It is inspired by my experiences growing up as a teenager, post 9/11, as a Muslim teenager post 9/11 in high school. And it's also about the years I spent breakdancing in high school with my brothers. So it's like this, it's inspired by that, but it's also a love story, and there's a lot of, stuff happens. So that's coming out later this year. And then the next book in the Shatter Me series, number 5, will be out next spring. So lots of stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing stuff. I can't wait for all of it. Because you didn't know how talented Tahereh is, being also a great dancer. So getting back into writing Restore Me, Juliet's voice has always been like one of the strongest things about the series, and it makes her such an intense character to follow. And your writing is growing and changing as she's growing and changing. Was it challenging getting back into Juliet's voice now that the challenges in this new series feel so different from the first series? Because, what do you do after, the dystopia falls? So you have to fix things, and how Juliet faces that, I think, is really intriguing. So was it different revisiting her in that way?
Yeah, well, for those of you who don't know, the Shatter Me books are about the Shatter Me book, the first book, is about a 17-year-old girl named Juliet who has been in confinement for almost a year. She's been in perfect isolation for a very long time, and she hasn't touched anyone in just as long, and she's kind of losing her mind. And the writing reflects her inner chaos, her sort of inner turmoil and struggle. And so, especially in that first book, the writing is chaotic and kind of, hyperbolic, and it's really intense, and there's a lot of repetition, and instead of written numbers, there are numerals, and she's, writing things down and crossing them out, and writing things down and crossing them out. There's a lot of self-censorship and struggle, and it's reflected in the writing. And as she grows and finds her voice and learns to love herself and what she has to say and who she is, the writing also calms down with her and grows with her and changes with her. So it's a visual representation of that inner turmoil. And we see that again in Restore Me. So we see glimpses of it because the writing is always going to breathe with her. So as she evolves, the writing will evolve with her. So in whatever direction that is. When she relapses and has moments of difficulty and insecurity and anxiety, the writing will relapse with her. So it was actually really easy to get back in there. I felt like when I came back to this series, it was almost like I had hit pause on a movie I'd been watching, and I hadn't realized the movie wasn't over. And I just, when I came back to it, it was like I hit pause again, and the characters just sprang back to life. So it was
always meant to happen again.
It felt really right. It felt really good. It felt like I was slipping back into a suit I hadn't worn in a while.
Nice. Yeah. And also, Restore Me is from 2 points of view. There is also Warner's point of view, which you had written before. How is it different to write from Warner's point of view as opposed to Juliet, because he's such a different character?
Yeah, it was great. I've been saying this at every tour stop because I feel like it's important, but I've gotten a lot of questions about the dual POV because I think a lot of people were worried that I was going to kill off one of the characters. And the dual POV was one of them would die and they don't have to continue the story. And I don't know what you guys are so cynical, but it's not going to happen. That's not why I did it. But I wrote this book in a dual POV, specifically Warner's POV, because I struggled a lot in the first 3 books to expand the world through Juliet's perspective, because she spends most of the time in isolation or on the run or underground, and she like doesn't know a lot. She was in isolation when the world went to hell, and so she's always like, "What happened?" And there's always someone has to be like, "This is what happened." And Warner knows so much about what went down, and he just has a lot of. Oh, am I not talking or something?
Oh, wait. There's this one. Can you guys hear this one a little bit better?
Microphone.
Yeah, it's the microphone. Can you guys hear this one?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have you guys not been hearing what I've been saying this whole time? Once upon a time. I'm so sorry. I wish. Yeah.
Well, wave if you can't hear.
Don't worry. I was just talking crap about Marie this whole time. Just kidding. I would never, ever, ever. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So.
Warner's POV. That's all.
I thoroughly enjoyed reading Warner's point of view because it's really interesting watching him interact again with Juliet and with everyone else, with Kenji, like all these amazing characters that we remember and love in the first series. And I love that you explore how characters heal from the pain that they've experienced. It's not just like the end of the story, like, oh, everybody lives happily ever after. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on. And I think that you have a real talent for digging deep into your characters and bringing all of that out. Do you have a favorite character that you like writing about in the series? Like, is it one of the POV characters, or do you have like a favorite side character? Or both?
Well, my favorite side character, who really feels like a main character to me, is Kenji, of course. I have so much fun. Yeah, I have so much fun. I agree with you. I have so much fun writing this character. He reminds me occasionally of myself and reminds me quite a bit of my brothers. And so he feels very real to me. Like I've lifted actual things. Like there are things that Kenji says that I've lifted from actual conversations with my brothers. So yeah, I have a lot of fun writing that. But I enjoy all of them in different ways. There's a lot of me in Warner, believe it or not, because mostly in his closet. I like to imagine that he has like a tailor who like comes and does like fittings for him every once in a while. Like everything he wears is made to measure, custom. Because I guess that's my dream. I just want to come to my house and be like, "What would you like me to make for you today?" Oh, he's so nice.
Oh, the dream. Yeah. Maybe he wears some slick stuff in his book.
Speaking of slick stuff, I'm sorry, Marie's just going to talk about me all night, so I'm going to have to stop her
No,
for a
that's
second.
what I want to do.
I just finished reading the second Warcross book. Yeah. Because I know someone who let me read it, and it is amazing, just FYI. I'm like a huge Marie Lu fangirl. I've read all of her books, and I love all of her books, but like there's a special place in my heart for Warcross, and I just obsessed. Like I inhaled that book, and I've been begging her to give me the next book, and I read it recently on a flight, and I was just like, so good. I can't say anything, but it was so good. So mark your calendars, guys. It comes out this fall.
There's a lot coming from you, so we can hear.
And it's amazing. She's amazing. Such a talented writer in every possible way, but it's so visually stunning. It's visually stunning. I feel so cinematic. And I loved all the parts where they're like talking about what they're wearing and everything's like just so gorgeous. And how was that for you? What was that experience like for you, like painting that picture? And
It was a lot of wish fulfillment, I feel like, writing Warcross. It was like, I don't actually own any of this stuff, but it would be really great to have like a jet made out of glass. I don't even know if that's scientifically possible. Probably not. But I've never flown in a jet, in like a private jet, so you can put whatever you want in there.
yeah,
There's like 2 people in the world who will know that it's not possible. So yeah, it was really fun. It was a lot of wish fulfillment. It was a lot of drawing on travels that my husband and I have done recently. And I grew up with video games. I grew up with loving just anime and Japanese culture, and I wanted to put some of that into the story. So that was really fun for me to do.
It's so good.
Thank you.
It's so good.
Thank you so much. And I want to get back to talking sneakily. You write so fast too. I don't know how you do it. It's just incredible.
You're so prolific. I can't believe you.
I really am not.
She's so talented. She's so talented.
We really love each other a lot. So right before Restore Me and going back to write your middle grade books, you wrote Furthermore and Witchwood, and they are so lush and so different, and it was such a departure. What was it like getting into middle grade and writing this completely different voice in between the Shatter Me books?
It was really fun. I didn't know I was writing a middle grade novel when I wrote Furthermore. I thought I was writing another YA novel, but my editor was like, this is clearly middle grade. And I thought about it for a minute, and I got really angry. And then I realized it was definitely a middle grade novel. But it's definitely inspired by some of my favorite books, like Anne of Green Gables and Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz and Secret Garden and The Little Princess, and some of those books are like some Chronicles of Narnia. Those are some of my absolute favorite books, and this is definitely like a love letter to those novels. And when I realized that all of those books I just listed were middle grade novels. I was like, oh, huh.
It's hard, I think, to have a natural voice that fits both middle grade and YA. So I think it's really cool that you were able to do both so well.
Thank you. It was really fun.
Yeah. Do you think you prefer one or the other? And also, like, was there anything that was most challenging for you in writing Restore Me? And was there what was the hardest thing about it?
The hardest thing about writing Restore Me was that I was pregnant when I was writing. And I was like finishing up a part of it. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm sure if you've had a kid, you know this, but you lose 30% of your brain cells in the last trimester because your kid is taking your brain cells.
It's fascinating.
It's a real thing. You're like growing your child's brain. Your child is like, thank you, I'll take that. All your math. And you're just sitting there like a potato. And I was like, I'm on deadline. It was really hard. But the kid was worth it. She's great. But we got through it. Yeah. Otherwise, it was really fun. It was really fun to write Restore Me. I had a lot of fun with being able to dive into Warner's mind really helped me to break open the world in a way that I hadn't been able to do before. And I was able to tackle that dystopian world in a different way. So it was fun. It was, yeah.
Yeah, I can tell in the writing of it. It just flows. So it's very easy. I know there's not a lot you can say about this because it'd be full of spoilers, but what can we kind of generally expect from the rest of the books? Yeah. And if you can share anything at all.
Yeah. Well, Restore Me is the first in 3 more books in the series, so there's a new trilogy, which means there's a lot more to come. Stuff happens. Yeah. Really, I'm trying to think if there's something I can't really.
No, just hang on to your chairs. It's going to be amazing.
Hold on to your hats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, this is kind of random, but did you guys get no cards to ask questions?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, back there.
Okay. So that's gonna coming.
Yeah.
Okay. We did that because we didn't want to have people possibly ask spoilery questions if you haven't read the book. So we're gonna protect your ears. Oh, okay. So we're gonna start with the spoilery question. Okay. We don't have to do this now. I was just wondering.
No, I mean, I think I want to give enough time for the reader questions. So do you want to go into?
No, I'm
reader
sorry. I
questions?
didn't mean to get ahead of myself.
No, I think that's great.
I would love to talk more about your books.
So sneaky.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about Warcross 2? Maybe, have you guys read Warcross yet?
Yes.
Right? If you know what you're doing, you've read Warcross. So good. It's Marie Lou at her finest. I'm blurting this right now. This girl knows how to pace her books. Like, every time you think that, like, you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time. I mean, character development is amazing. Her imagination is amazing. It's just so good. So, do you want to talk about Warcross for a minute, like really quickly? Like, what is it about?
Yeah,
I've just been
sure.
blathering.
No, this is what we're here for. So Warcross is my current series. It's a duology, so there's only 2 books in the series. The first one came out last fall, and Warcross is about this like version of our world about maybe 10 years in the future, and is about this girl named Anika Chen, who is 18 years old and living in New York City and kind of down on her luck. She works as a bounty hunter, which is not like the most lucrative job for her. And in this version of our world, there is a game called Warcross that has taken the world by storm. It was created by this young billionaire named Hideo Tanaka. And she has always looked up to him all her life, but she's kind of down on her luck, and in desperation for money, she hacks into the International Warcross Championships. Accidentally hacks into the game so that everyone who's watching the championships can see her, and the next day she's just like on every newspaper imaginable, and Hideo calls her and asks her if she wants to fly to Tokyo, and it kind of goes from there.
So good! Plus, great romance, too.
Thanks. Romance is really hard for me to write. I actually looked at your book for inspiration because I feel like you do romance really well. It's really hard to do. That's the part that's like getting to that part is so hard, and you do it so well.
No,
really. Going back to your books, literally like looking for inspiration on how to romance. No, really. Yeah, I have to do studies in romance. It's my week.
That is genuinely. I'm honored. I'm flattered. But okay, so if you had to choose between like killing a character and making them kiss, which would you choose?
Oh God.
Both at the same time.
That's romancing in terms of like speed, it would be so much easier to kill a character. It took me like an hour and a half to write 4 lines of romantic dialogue. I was just thinking like, what do people say? I really don't know. I like you. You're much better at this than I am. She's married. She's just wonderful. She doesn't work at it. It's really doesn't. Yeah, so that's what Warcross is about. And Warcross 2 is more of the same, I guess. I can't talk too much about it, but there's more Mika and more Hideo and more other characters and more Zero. Yeah, we can say Zero. Zero is another character.
When are you going to do the title reveal? I've almost accidentally said the title like a number of times now.
I don't know, actually. I know we're getting close to like I think a cover reveal, and we've got our title, but I have no idea when Penguin is planning on releasing that, so sometime. Sometime soon. The book should be out this fall, I think, so sometime before fall.
That's a good plan. Yeah. Before the book comes out.
Yeah, so
okay.
Should we do questions?
Sure.
Let's do it. Should I pick from them and then ask you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Surprise.
All Okay, so this one is, what's happening with the TV show?
I don't know. So, real talk, our executive producer guy, who I love and has been so great, got a really good job somewhere else. So, it, like, you know, we're like at an impasse, as they say, and we'll see what happens. So it'll either get picked up, but right now we don't really like have our Superman leading the team anymore. So it's kind of, we'll see.
He couldn't have been that good of a job because he's not working on Shatter Me.
Yeah. So I really, like, I'll let you guys know as soon as I have more information, but we're still kind of, you never know with these things.
Let's see. Where do you continue to draw your inspiration? And by the way, I love Warner. He's my #1 sexy dream book.
No, that was not me. That was not me. Yes, girl.
Where do you continue to draw your inspiration from?
For Warner in particular, or like just in general?
I don't know. It's not specific.
For Warner.
For Warner.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know how to answer this question because I feel like Warner feels like a person to me. Like he feels like a real person to me who came to life in the beginning of the series, and now everything he does is built upon the person. The person I met when the series started. So all the decisions he makes and all of his actions from here on out are just a natural consequence of that. That sounds weird. That's an answer. I don't know. People. I get my inspiration from people.
I mean, he's
terrible
supposed to be
answer.
together from like a lot of things, I'm sure.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know any like young dictators or anything. But
Young righteous dictators.
yeah. The dictator touch.
Is the thing in the car. Did you have much say in the direction of the absolutely stunning covers?
Oh, yes and no. There's not a lot I can say about this, like, in front of a lot of people. But yes and no. I will say yes and no. This image in particular, the first image on the Shatter Me cover, is inspired by an image created by someone named Cherie Davenport. And it's like an eye with like a waterfall. It's very similar, but it's kind of it's quite a bit more monstrous looking, and the eye is like bright green, and it's kind of scary looking. And my publisher really wanted to use that, and I asked them to make it prettier and to make it less like staring straight at you like a crazy eyeball. So you'll notice like the eye is like looking slightly away from you and not like staring into your soul. So I asked them to like make them prettier, and we kind of went with that theme. And now, yeah, we talk about the art direction, what color, what kind of eyelashes, like what's happening. And we go through that. Right now we're finalizing the cover for the next book. Exciting. It's exciting. Yeah.
Which book character would you like to date? And
I really like my husband. Love him, in fact. So I choose him over fictional characters. But BFF, I mean, almost definitely Kenji.
Kenji.
Would be my BFF, yeah.
He would be my BFF too.
Yeah.
What is the most drastic thing you have had to do to meet a deadline? It's really interesting.
Yeah, wow, that's an interesting question. What's the most drastic thing you've ever had to do? Kill a man.
have like lied about it, like if I couldn't go to an event,
Oh.
you know, because of deadlines or something, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I have the pox. I cannot.
Yeah,
So
I could see
that's
that.
about as drastic, I think.
I don't have an interesting answer to this because
They're mostly just a lot of like.
I've never missed a deadline. I don't. That wasn't meant to sound like. I've never missed a deadline. No, I just like looking at my husband like, do you know? Oh yeah. Well, I don't sleep. I thought that like goes without saying. I stopped sleeping a long time ago. Yeah, I guess give up on food and water. Stop talking. I don't return my mom's phone calls. You knew my mom, you'd know that was drastic.
That is drastic.
She just keeps calling. Anyway.
Okay, the TV show. Did you have a muse for Warner?
No, I wrote Warner before I met my husband.
Why do you choose the settings that you do? If the character is developed first, is it harder to develop the setting? Like, why do you choose the settings that you do?
I guess I'm surprised because I'm wondering if this person has heard me answer this question
Oh,
before, because I usually say that I create characters first and the setting grows up around them. So, is this like a follow-up? That's like why? I'm making a lot of assumptions.
or maybe you can tell us what your original answer was? Like,
Okay, well, I usually create characters first. And so for me, books always begin with the character. They always begin with a voice. And that person's story, like who are they? What's their deal? What's happening? And when I wrote Shatter Me, I couldn't get the image of this girl out of my head, and she was just very, very clear to me. This like young girl curled into herself in a dark corner, and like in perfect isolation, and I could see her very clearly. And I just wanted to know who she was. So I just started asking questions. And the world built up around her and the questions that I asked. So it was, it's like a process of elimination. You're like, well, why are you here all by yourself? Are you here by choice or were you locked up against your will? And then when you answer that question, then you have to be like, okay, well, what were you locked up for? Do your parents know you're here? Oh, you have terrible parents? Okay. So and then, like, the world just keeps becoming sharper and clearer as you eliminate possibilities. And I sort of, home in on that. But for me, characters are the driving force of every story I tell, so they're most important to me. If I don't have that voice, I feel like I've got no guiding light, so I have to start with that.
and we have time for one more question. So, what is one thing about publishing you wish someone would have told you?
Only one thing, huh? One thing. So many things. I guess it's the thing about not just publishing, but like literally everything, any industry, anywhere you want to work. I would say it is most important to know and always remember that people want to work with people they like. So don't be a not nice person. I was going to say something else. But, I just think that's the most important thing in everything you do. Be a decent, upright citizen, always. And I feel like there's this, people talk about the triangle. I don't know if you've heard this, but like in order to do any kind of work ever, like in any industry, you have to be two of three things. You have to be either very good at your job, a very nice person, and meet all your deadlines, and timely organized. So you have to be 2 of those 3 things at all times. You can be a total douchebag, but be very, very good at what you do and turn in all your assignments on time, and people will continue to work with you. Or you can be mediocre at what you do, but turn in all your assignments on time, and be a very nice person, and you'll still get jobs. But you have to always be 2 of those 3 things. Now, my favorite combination is to be all 3 of those things. But if you can't be all 3, then you should at least strive to be nice and hit those deadlines. It's more important to me that you're a nice person who's you don't even have to be that great. I'd rather work with a nice person than someone who's really good but a horror to work with. That was horror. Terror to work with. I just think it's more important than anything else. You realize that you want to surround yourself with good people and people you can trust, and that goes in any industry, which is why I'm here with Marie tonight, because she is a wonderful human being with a heart of gold, and I love her, and she happens to be super talented, and she happens to hit all her deadlines, even if she has to kill a man.
Well, you are all of these things too, which is why I am here with you as well.
Thank you.
And it makes it very easy to
See, she knows what to say to people.